Oh, hello. Welcome to another DNA video, kind of giving you guys my updated Psyche build and as well as kind of my plans for 1.1, kind of going into 1.1. I know we're kind of on the doorstep um, of that update here, so probably a little bit late, but I have been doing kind of some Psyche tweaks, which more within the demon wedges, and as most of you probably know, that is a massive chore within this game right now. That is kind of the epitome of the grind, if you will. So I've been kind of trying to chip away at some of that stuff, but I think I finally have gotten her to where I want her to be. I know in my last video I said I wasn't going to do a lot of this stuff. I wasn't going to, I was going to kind of chill out moving forward. But then they released the stream moving forward into 1.1. I guess I'll stop her from dancing at this point. They kind of moved or gave us an idea of kind of where they're going, what they're doing moving forward, which was, I'll be honest with you guys, I did not see a lot of the things that they said or that they were going to do. I did not see that coming with a lot of things, predominantly the character releases. I was kind of shocked that they decided that they wanted to do Fushu next after just doing Venus. It's kind of two supports in a row. Um, that's fine, totally cool because I think within my Psyche build, I think Fushu is going to fit very, very well. And we'll talk about that here a little bit. But I just kind of want to give you guys a little bit of an update as far as what my Psyche looks like right now, kind of what I did from the last video to now. And then kind of piggybacking off of that, wanted to talk a little bit about what my game plan is going into 1.1, what I'm doing to just kind of prepare to hopefully give you guys a little bit of help. I'm sure most of you guys know this, that watch these YouTube videos. A lot of people put them out, but just kind of want to give you an idea of what I'm doing, some things that have helped me kind of going into it moving forward. And just kind of wanted to go over that with you. So without further ado, let's get into this. So kind of going off of, and we'll just jump into the Psyche build initially. Not a lot has changed for me personally from the last video, other than doing a couple little things, mainly first being with her weapon. I said I wasn't going to smelt it all the way up, but I ended up just doing it after they gave us the news with the theater, how it's going to be Animo again, which sure had some mixed reviews from a lot of you guys. Which is completely justifiable. I think doing three Animos theaters in a row is a little bit meh, even as a Psyche main. Even with it helping me, I still think that it was, I would have liked to have at least tried something else, maybe Lumino or something. Like I probably would have been screwed if they would have made it, Electro or something like that. I probably would have been in trouble, but and had to make some adjustments to see if I could make it work. But that is not the case. They came out with another Animo one. So again, does that help me? Absolutely, it does. But I do totally understand why some people are a little bit upset with that. But that being said, if you've kind of just started working on your Psyche, or you've been working on her a little bit, just kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of kind of what a super built one looks like. I put a lot of time into this, so again, a lot of it hasn't changed that much, but some of it has changed. And the big one that has changed is the 5 smelt with her weapon. Um, Obviously, when you get this all the way maxed out, it's going to give you plus 10% resolve, and then increases resolve by 16%. Some attack speed, which is great. Um, range weapon, and this will extend the duration by zero point 0.2 seconds. Now, as you can see with the way that she attacks and does all that stuff, like you're gonna probably have this up constantly just based on the way that the character works, right? So that was the first big thing that I did with this. And now moving kind of off of this ranged weapon, kind of moving into the next piece of this, what I've done with her is update some of her demon wedges. Now, before I had two blaze resolves, and was totally fine with that. I know, to me it wasn't as much damage, but I was fine with it because she was able to tackle pretty much everything in the game. Now, that being said, that was before the stream came out. I thought Zilu was going to be coming out, which is who I want to play. So I was kind of trying to, kind of stock a bunch of materials and different things along those lines. Obviously, they came out of the stream, said not only is Zilu not coming out, she's not coming out for a minimum of of 2 months, maybe even longer. I don't know who's going to come out after Fushigi and Kaizo. So I said, okay, well, based on that information and then based on the information on the theater, I was like, okay, we might as well just kind of push her and wrap it up. Okay, so looking at her stats, kind of going off of this, anima attack really hasn't changed that much. Skill range is still exactly the same. Efficiency is the same. Now, the big change that has happened here has been the skill damage has obviously gone up, as you guys can see, and the resolve has gone down just a little bit. Now, what made that happen? Well, obviously, number one being me max smelting her weapon was a big thing with kind of with the resolve. And then what I did with her demon wedges is I took away one of the blaze resolves, so I only have one now. Okay. And then I added a Blaze Volition, a fourth Blaze Volition onto her kit. Okay, so now she has 4 max Blaze Volitions. That's going to give you a total of 384% skill damage. And like I said, everything else has stayed pretty much the same. It's knocked the resolve down a little bit, but I'm pretty good. I feel like I feel pretty comfortable with right around 20% resolve, and then obviously getting the skill damage up a lot is obviously that's going to help her, right? So now that being said, the main thing that I probably could change here is, not keeping a duel in the whole time. Obviously that's pretty much specifically for immersive theater. Outside of that, really a prime resolve is probably going to be your best option. But as most of you probably know, this thing is hard to get, and it's hard to get enough of them to get that to a plus 10. Now, obviously, they're changing that with the update, so that's probably the first thing that I'm really going to look at and see what what I have to do to kind of get a higher leveled one of these, because I think ultimately that's probably going to be the best thing to use. Even more so going into theater, you might be able to put this in and take this out, and you might have a better better stats with this being leveled up more. Okay, that's just kind of my thought process. But going off of that completely, when you're just doing normal content, depending on what they do with the content, if they make it harder, or more in depth, however they want to do it moving forward, this will probably end up replacing duel, and then everything else will probably be exactly the same for her. Okay, as always, Whispering Zephyr, probably her best, maybe not her best, but easily one of her best demon wedges there. It's just a crazy amount of skill damage for popping her skill every 6 seconds, which is already really easy to do. And with Fushu coming out, I think it's going to be even easier to do that. And we'll get into that here in a second. But that's kind of what I'm looking at right now with her. Okay. Demon wedges on the weapon are exactly the same. This is, again, you're not using this for damage. So the big thing here is just, all of these things really aren't that big of a deal, other than the piercing ascent, like we talked about before, and then trying to get the attack speed, charged attack speed up, but all these other ones, not really that big of a deal. The 4, like I said in the last video, that I really focus on, this one, the swift drop shot, celerity, and swift momentum. Trying to get this, if you're going to max one weapon demon wedge out for her, it would be this one. Okay, get that attack speed up as high as you can. This one really is not that hard to make. It's pretty easy to get, so I got that pretty quick. Okay, same thing with her range weapon. None of these really matter that much. I mean, I use it mainly for the skill range, but then also in immersive theater, it does a really good job of breaking shields, which she kind of struggles with just based on how hard she hits. The shield doesn't really break super well, obviously, with with all these different damage types and stuff that make it easier to smash shields or not, depending on what type of damage you're doing. That's kind of how that kind of works in its most basic form. Okay, so with this, again, these are all just stuff that I've had, okay, mainly from working on my Nifle build. I've had some of these kind of come over, so again, just fit here what you can. It's not really that big of a deal. Okay, and then as always, her Constance weapon is still exactly the same. Can't really do anything with this until Mystic Maze updates, and then once that updates, I'm gonna kind of boost that up some more. Okay, but again, as always, most people are using this. It's not really a big secret now. You know, you fold over, celerity, rage, and focus. Okay, and then try to push those up. Once the next Mystic Mace comes out, that's probably going to be high priority for me. Okay, so that's kind of her build. Really, the big thing I wanted to update. Obviously, I have her Intron still. You know, I said this last video. If you didn't watch it or whatever, no big deal. I have it 6. Okay, her skills I have totally maxed as always. Like this is my main. You know, so that's kind of how that breaks down. Okay. Also, just to kind of really go over Fushu, or I'm sorry, Fina again, really quick. Same thing. Demon wedges are exactly the same. Obviously, I could push these a little bit more when I get to it. The prismatic neon still needs to be pushed to 10. That's going to be kind of a more of a priority once the update drops with the demon wedge event and all that stuff they're coming out with. That's kind of what I'm looking at doing next. And then this one would probably be shortly after that. I could do it now if I wanted to, but I need more secret nodes. Okay, and that's kind of what I've been trying to start stockpiling those for Fushu when she comes out. Okay, so she feels pretty good right now. HP is pretty good. She does have a tendency to die still in the theater if you don't kill fast enough. I've had a couple instances with her doing that. Again, getting Fushu on the team when she comes out, I think is probably going to help alleviate a lot of those problems moving forward into that. But we'll talk about Fushu here in a second. The big thing with her, though, is, you know, I do kind of keep the Nirvana up. Surge plus 10, you guys know this, helps immensely with bossing. Okay, when you break those shields, do that stuff, then you get a pretty substantial damage increase there. And then, as always, Wings Inspo. I think Wings Inspo should be going on pretty much all of your AI companions. You know, it just is a really, really, really good wedge to have, you know, with your AI companions. Sometimes they like to derp and they start, you know, casting a lot of skills really, really quickly, or, you know, doing a lot of things that kind of burns through sanity if you're not paying attention. So just adding this and then giving the skill efficiency, which for those you don't know, when you have a high skill efficiency, this makes their skills cost less is the big thing there, which is great. Obviously, you get both of those things with this inspo. So trying to get that to plus 10 as fast as you can, trying to get Surge plus 10 as fast as you can is great. And then if you can get Nirvana to plus 10 as fast as you can, those are her big 3, I personally think, and that's kind of what I prioritized going off of, you know, the initial build of her. And then I would say Prismatic Neon is another really good one to have. You could start building that up and then just start slow rolling with her stuff. The Eternities, given the skill duration, I think is great for her. You know, skill duration is huge with her. Skill range to me for her is not quite as important, but I am still kind of experimenting with some stuff with some enemy debuff and different things along those lines with her skill range. But I still think that that's kind of a lower priority for her as opposed to the max sanity and the skill durations for her. I think are kind of her big things. And then obviously efficiency just helps. Okay, so that's kind of what I've worked on with Fina. That's what we're looking at there. Okay. Try not to make this video super long, but I feel like it's going to be no matter what I do. So trying our best. Again, still sticking at Intron 2 with her. Her skills, still same thing. Maxed her buff and her passive first. These are the big ones. The damage I'm kind of not super worried about with her as of now. So we're going to kind of just chill with her and then let Fushu kind of come out, and then we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so now wanting to talk about Fushu moving forward, I personally think, I obviously have not played her, have not put her on my team, haven't been able to test her, anything like that. But kind of just looking at her kit on Boarhat and just kind of trying to look at some things and run some numbers in my head of just kind of how I would like to build her. First of all, I think she's going to be excellent on most teams. I think she's really, really, really going to be good on Psyche's team. So I think I'm going to probably try and replace Truffle with her just see how it goes. Okay, I know Truffle does add a lot and brings a lot to the table for Psyche, but I think moving forward, my Psyche team is going to be Fina and Fushu. Okay, so how am I planning on building Fushu? Well, for me, moving kind of forward, we'll just use her as a kind of just a general base here. What I think is going to be good for her, because her two main things that I think Fushu is bringing to the table for Psyche players specifically, but for everybody else, but I think it's really going to help Psyche a lot, is her ability to heal and her ability to do sanity regen. Okay, the sanity regen being huge for Psyche. Okay. So the big thing there with how I'm planning on building this character, okay, ignore the abnegation and the eternity and the blaze. Okay. The big things that I'm thinking are going to be helpful for Fushu moving forward, as I think the prime uplift I think is going to be good. Okay, for her, so trying to max that out, which again is a chore, but that'll probably be at the later stage there, depending on how the Demon Wedge event goes and like what we're looking at once that comes out. Okay, but I think that's going to be a big one. Another big one, Wings Inspo. As always, we just talked about that. That's huge for AI companions. You know, especially for Fushu and for Fina specifically. You want a lot of sanity. I think it's going to do nothing but just help them, you know, and help you stay buffed and healed and everything else. Okay. So again, those are pretty self-explanatory. Big one for her that I like and I think I'm gonna put on her is Frosty Torrent. Okay, so trying to level that up. Gonna be again, I think another really big help for her moving forward. Another one, Midnight Sun. Okay, Griffin's Midnight Sun. Again, going off of not really for the Hydro attack or the skill damage, but for the skill duration, I think is going to be really, really good for her again. So that's kind of my thought process going into that. Now, based on what I've said, those things, that gives me 4. So the other 4 that I think I would really like to kind of at least test or start with, okay, and this is again all subject to change based on the new demon wedges that they said they were going to come out with. I haven't seen any of them. I don't know what they look like. I don't know how many they're coming out with. So all of those things are kind of up in the air right now. But if none of them are that good, or if they don't come out with as many as they say they're going to, I think the I'm probably going to do a 2-2 to start and just see what it looks like. And those 2 are going to be Blaze Inspo. Okay, it would be 2 of these for the skill efficiency for her. I think is going to be great. Okay, and then the other one would be 2 of the Blaze Spectrums. Excuse me. And that's going to give some skill range. Again, I think skill range for her is going to be helpful. I don't know how helpful it's going to be, but just kind of looking at her kit and things that have been posted about her, I think those two of those and 2 of the inspos, I think is going to kind of wrap that build up and make it look, you know, make it or perform as good as possible. Again, we might make some adjustments as we look at it. We might not need as much range as we think, you know, but I think the skill efficiency, all of those things, I think are going to be very, very helpful for her moving forward. Okay, and that's kind of my plan for Fushu when she comes out. Those are the things that I'm going to kind of put together, and that's how I'm going to run her initially. Okay, and again, if I change anything, or if I come to find out, or if you know CJ or you know or Amazing or some of these guys that are very good players, you know that are very good at testing these things and do a really really good job. I really like their content. And they put in a lot of work and do a lot of things that, you know, so I don't have to do it. And I appreciate them very much for that. You know, and they can kind of give a good idea of what you're looking at moving forward. But I think those, at least that's kind of my initial build thought for her. But I think her and Fina with Psyche, if you are a Psyche player, I think that is going to make that build, you know, that Psyche build just incredibly, incredibly busted. I think she's going to replay, you know, be able to keep the sanity up on your Psyche just very, very high. And I think she's going to heal her really, really well. So I think you're going to be able to stay in your ultimate probably just indefinitely. You know, you pretty much, based on my build right now, I pretty much almost can anyways. But with Fushu, I think you're really, really going to be in a good spot, guys. So just some things to think about there. Okay. Now, kind of moving forward off of that. Oh, and I forgot one thing. I've had some questions. I think a lot of people are trying to think about what weapon you want to use with Fushu. My thought initially, what I think I'm gonna at least just use and just to kind of see what it's like. It's probably gonna be Truffle's weapon. I think for her moving forward. Okay. I don't have it smelted or anything, obviously, but I think these with the skill duration, again, is going to be nothing but helpful for her. And then, you know, granting all of these things, you know, one of these things, attack, defense, skill duration, all these things, all it's going to do is just help immensely. So I think that's kind of the weapon that I'm going to run with her, at least initially, just to see, again, her weapon might be better than this, but at least for the AI companion portion, that's kind of what I think is going to be really, really helpful for your builds kind of moving forward, guys. Okay. So ultimately, that's kind of my build and my game plan for Fushu moving forward. Now, going off of that, how am I going to prepare for that? Again, I know we're kind of on the doorstep here. I know I'm kind of getting this out a little bit late, but just some of the things that I have been doing that have been helping me in kind of no particular order, except for maybe, the last one I'll tell you, because I've kind of stopped doing that just based on some events and stuff that are coming out. What am I doing? Okay, well, what I did first is I did immersive theater and kind of pushed that to 95. And again, maybe I'll do 100 or whatever. I was just trying to get a little bit more left over moving forward, just to see. I've got 1,000, of that moving there. So that's kind of the first thing that I did. Okay. Other thing I'm doing, Mystic Maze, a little bit here and there. And I'm not super concerned with this, guys, and this is kind of a little bit at a lower priority list, but I am kind of trying. I mean, I bought a bunch of these out just to help kind of level her once she comes out. And then I'm slow rolling, kind of trying to buy some of these blueprints. Okay, and then I'll probably buy some of these purples moving forward. Probably try to buy some of these purples. Again, we've got 3 days and 4 hours, so I don't have a whole hell of a lot of time here to get this done. So again, if I don't get it done, not the end of the world. I don't really care that much about it. Okay, what I do care a lot about is a couple things. And again, this next part that I will say, I know this is not the most efficient thing to do based on, people have come out with this and said that it's not the most efficient thing. Again, totally understand that. But what I am doing here, the big thing, couple things. The one that's not as efficient, but I am still doing it, is the chase, even when I've already done my 3, just to try and get more Carmine globules, and kind of piggybacking off of that, it's trying to get you get a little bit of coin off of that, which my coin is in a pretty good spot right now, and you get some secret notes with those things. Okay, but the main goal of this is to try and get the Carmine globules. The other things are just a nice little bonus to have. And again, I know it's not the most efficient thing, but with my Psyche build the way that it is now, I can rip through chase pretty quickly. So I can get quite a few of these done. Again, I'm really just trying to get these Carmine globules up as high as I can, because the demon wedges are very, very expensive to kind of get all the way to level 10. Even just getting it to 10 is 9,000 just to go from 9 to 10, and then you have a lot more within even moving up to that. It starts with, I want to say it starts roughly about, I think it was like 2,000, 3,000, something like that. And then it increases exponentially, going, 5,000, 7,500, 9,000, all that stuff. So it's a lot, right? There's a lot that you have to do just to invest in one demon wedge. So you need a lot of these. Okay. So that's what I'm kind of running here. Just to do that. Again, I know it's not the most efficient. I know that you can do escort and do these things like that. I don't like escort. It's annoying to me. It's boring. It's slow, especially based on where my character is. You have to sit there and wait for this dumbass car and all that stuff. So I'm just bleh, right? Don't feel like doing it. Okay. The other thing that I'm doing, and this is the big one that I've been doing probably the most, is exploration, right? Everybody's talked about this. Most of you guys know this at this point. Start at level 30. Pick whichever one you want to do, depending on who you're farming it with. Most of you are probably farming it with Rebecca. I don't. I use Psyche because I can just sit her up in the corner, and I can even AFK farm with her if I want to, because her skills just auto fire a lot of times too. But if I really want to do it fast, I'll sit there and just mow everything down really quickly, and I can burn through these runs pretty quick. Okay. Generally, my sweet spot, like most of you probably already know, is anywhere from around 10 to 15. Okay. Usually I'll just stop at around 10 and just reset it and go again. But that's kind of how I'm trying to build up those secret notes, because I think that is going to be by far the most important thing to do, is having a lot of those. Okay. Finally, and this is the thing that I have slow rolled a lot just based on the event that they've talked about coming out with. Okay. It's basically trying to get the Hydra wedges. Now, again, I've started to slow roll this a lot because obviously of the event coming out. And then number 2, and the big one being that I don't know what new demon wedges they're coming out with. So I don't know that going through this and trying to push all of these up a lot just for them to come out with new demon wedges and then be like, ah, crap, like I should have just waited, right? So I've slowed down a lot of this. I only do this a little bit during the day, okay? But the big one that I really want is the Frosty Torrent, 50 copies of these. I have 20 right now. that's kind of high priority. And then if I get some of these, not the Nirvana, the Spectrum, I have 26 of those, and then the Inspos, I have 28 of those. These ones I'm not as concerned with because I don't know what the wedges are going to look like. But if I get, realistically, I would need 100 of these to get to, right, to level 10. So again, we'll see what happens there, see what it looks like. But I've just kind of been slow rolling that throughout the day. Okay. All of those things are the things that I'm kind of focusing on right now. Again, you don't have to do all of them. You might not want to do, I know a lot of people don't love maze, so you might not do maze. Totally understandable. You might not want to do the chase because it takes you too long or you think it's just not as efficient. Totally okay. Again, these are just things that I'm doing to kind of move forward and try to get myself as prepared as I possibly can for 1.1, which I know is literally right on the doorstep. Okay, I know we are right there. So again, like I've said before, all of these things are, kind of just whatever. You can do all of them, you can do some of them, you can do none of them. That's totally up to you, and just kind of go into 1.1 at your own pace and figure out what you want to do and work on some different characters there. This is mainly, like I said, just for my Psyche mains. I know a lot of people are upset about the next theater that's coming out. Again, I totally understand the justification for that, but at the same time, that's their plan. That's what they're doing, and all we can do is adapt to the plan that they have moving forward for the game. My goal and my hope for this game is that once it's going to come out on Steam, they're going to start pouring a lot more resources into it because I hope a lot more people are going to see it and want to play it. And I think it's a great game. I think there's a lot of things that need to happen to keep pushing it into the realm of, what people would consider like this anime Warframe and trying to get it more to a Warframe caliber place. But I think we also need to be realistic in understanding that these types of things take time. They completely changed their model going into it. So it does feel like all the way up that we've been playing this point, all the way up to 1.1 has really just kind of been more of like a beta style of game. Okay. The developers have shown us that they're very willing to listen. They're very willing to try and make adjustments. And I think that they're going to do those things. But that being said, we have to give them time to do it, right? You have to give them an opportunity to do it. And so, things might not come out at the rate or come out initially that you guys love or that you want. But my biggest piece of advice is just to be patient with it. And, because like I said, where I'm at with it right now, my biggest hope from the stream was that they were going to say they were going to be coming out with a lot more end game stuff and a lot harder content and stuff like that. And they're not really doing that right now, but not the end of the world. That still gives you time to prepare, gives you time to take this game at your own pace. And like I said, if nothing else, the great thing about this is you can get whatever you want from grinding, right? It's just a matter of how much you want to grind. I have been grinding a lot. That's very evident there. So, like I said, if anybody has any questions, any comments, any concerns, please just put them below. I'll take a look at them. If anybody wants to play or anything like that, let me know, and I'll add you for sure. Or you can add me. It's totally fine there. But here's my ID. So again, just my plans moving forward. My updated Psyche build, just kind of show you guys what I'm working with right now. And hopefully this gives you kind of an idea of what you're doing, where you want to go with it. And as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. And as always, hopefully I will see you guys in game. Okay, take care.